Ever since man swung in the trees, we've always been hunters and gatherers. And every time we get a chance, whether it be a long weekend or our annual holidays, we head off to the scrub or wilderness and we do our little bit of hunting and gathering. Now coming to the bush used to be a pain in the butt. How many times you get out here with them old tents and you forget a bit of the tent? Not so today with this modern technology. We can tent up one hit, table folds up, the other hit, and our chair folds up. Now there's one thing you always got to start in the bush, and that's a good brekkie. All we need is 3 cups of flour, well sieved. Who takes a sieve with them to the bush? Right. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of cheese. If anybody ever worked in the bush, they'll know after eating damper for a while, it gets very bland. So, add a little bit of cheese in there, mix it around, probably about half a cup. I've chopped up a bit of bacon. I'm using this smoked middle rations and has got a lovely smoky flavour. Now I'm just going to add that to that. I'm going to save a couple of pieces because I want to have some bacon with some eggs. Righto, we've just about got everything in there. Just stir that around with my old spoon. When I say an old spoon, have a look at that one. Look, nice big round edges. And you know what? They don't go fluffy like some of these new spoons, these older spoons. Stir it around like that. Whoop, keep it in the bowl, Tommo. Righto, we're going to add a little bit of butter. Righto, where's my knife? Big dob of butter. Now, if you're doing this at home, that'd be about 60 g of butter. Now, I can mix that all day with this spoon, but it won't mix the butter in, so there's only one way to do it. Now, I've washed my hands, and then go with a hand, and they just mix that around like that to it. All we're actually doing is rubbing the butter into the flour. Stir it around like that. Right. After washing your hands, just dry them. Now we add the liquid. Now you can use a little bit of milk if you've got some, but I want to save some of that milk. So now we use our spoon, stir it around like that. Now if you're a bit short of milk, you can use the old water, H2O, look at that. Now there's only one little rule, you don't put in all your liquid at once, because if you do, it'll go too sloppy on you and you'll have to add flour. Now that's just about the right consistency. Look at that, it's coming away from the bowl, and guess what? You can stand a spoon up in it. How about that? Now I've saved a bit of flour. I'm just going to sprinkle that on the board. Right, and turn out my dough. Isn't that looking good? Right. Now I don't want to waste any of that, so I get the knife. Things are getting a little bit crowded on this small table, but we'll get there, nearly there. My old grandfather used to reckon this would stick to your ribs, but I can tell you, it also sticks to the bowl and makes it very hard to wash up unless you soak it. Put that out the road. Right, this is not bread, so you don't have to knead it. All you got to do is make it into a big lump. Now that's just about ready to go. Right, we want a little bit of flour just to roll the buns in. Now we just got to grease our tray. Now you can use butter or oil, but this is a pretty good product, so I use it. All you got to do is cut those into little pieces, roll them up into a ball that'll fit into your hand. Right, and then you open your hands up like that, and that'll help them to rise. Now we want these to cook right down in the middle, so I cut a good cross in them like that and just sit them on there. Now the reason I'm making little dampers is because if you're out in the bush by yourself, or you and your missus, if you cut a big damper in half like that, in no time at all it'll go stale once it's cooked, because it lets the air into it, and there are no preservatives in this what I'm cooking today. It's just flour, water, milk, and a bit of cheese and a bit of bacon. Now just roll them around like that. It won't take us long to get these, and we'll get them into the camp oven. Now we're going to put a big one right in the middle. There's only one thing to do now. We've got to paint those with a bit of milk. Now I usually got a little red brush, a pastry brush, which I brush a bit of milk on the top of those. But like most good bushmen, you leave those sort of things at home. Now you can use a bit of nice clean paper, and you just dobble that around on the top of the buns like that. You want to cover the whole lot of them. So that's going to make them go brown for us. You might say, oh, I don't take rolls of paper like that with me to the bush, but I'll tell you something, everybody takes a roll about that size. And I can assure you, it's not toilet paper until you take it to the toilet. So you can use it just to dob it around, but don't use the lavender type, otherwise you'll end up with lavender buns. We don't want that. One more thing to do, because we've got cheese inside these, we might put a little bit of cheese on top. Add a little bit of flavour to them. Oh, my mouth's watering already. Not too much now, Frank. I get carried away sometimes when I'm out here in the scrub. I've preheated a camp oven, and you'll notice I've got a little cake rack in there. So that tray is sitting on a cake rack, which will allow the air to circulate around it. And just make a bed for the camp oven. You don't want too much underneath it. Right. Bring it over. Sit it on there. Whoops. Now we're going to put very hot coals on top. Now when you're camping in this great country of ours, one thing you must always bring, and that's a crab pot. Now I didn't bring any fresh fish with me, so what I'm going to use is a little tin of cat food. Put it into there, and all I'm going to do now is just push a couple of holes in it with the screwdriver. Not too many, because I don't want too much of it to come out at once. I just want the lovely smell of the oil from the fish coming out through it in the water, and hopefully the crabs will go in. Now, fishing with crab pots, you must put your name on the float. F. Thompson. Right, put your phone number. How about that? And all we got to do now, this is the good part about these bit of hunting gear, look, it folds up. And all you do is just clip it like that. Bring it in there like that, and just out it goes. Right, I'm just going to sit that under a rock. And that's how easier to go crabbing. Now I want some googies with my bush brekkie. So first off, I'm going to squeeze a couple of oranges, making sure not to bust the skin. And I'll have an orange drink too. Ah, that's nice. Put that away for later. Now, we take the pith out of these. And take a minute with a spoon. You know why? Because I'm going to use that as an egg cooker. Just break the eggs in there. Ooh, going good. And I've got a little bit of bacon left over, and I'm going to cook that too. What a feast I'm going to have. Okay, just lift it off like that. Oh, I think they're cooked. Now to test these, I'm going to use a little skewer. Now my old grandmother used to have a big straw broom, and what she used to do, pull the straw out of the broom, wash it, break the end off that was sweeping the floor, and she would stick it in a cakes like a nice sponge, or what I'm doing, damper. And if it sticks to the skewer or the straw, let them have a little bit longer. If it doesn't stick, they're cooked. I'm going to give these ones a bit of a prod. Looks okay to me. Yep. Now that'll do me. Now your pliers come in handy again to get them out. See how simple it is to get them out. Look at those. Now while they're cooling, I'm just going to drop my eggs into the camp oven. And the camp oven should be still hot enough. Oops, getting all fingers tied up. Get the pair of pliers. Take them off like that. Set it over there. And just sit them on the cake rack like that. And my bit of bacon. Sit the lid on very carefully because we don't want to knock them eggs over, and they should only take about 2 or 3 minutes to cook. Now while the eggs are cooking, I'm just going to turn the dampers out. Whoops, now they're pretty hot. Whoop. Run the knife around the bottom because a bit of cheese might have spilt down, and look at that, the bottom's not burnt, just lovely and brown. I turn that over. Pull one of these out. Now that's one of the reasons I've made mini dampers. Now if we don't eat all these dampers, all I've got to do is paint them with milk, put them back in the camp oven later on today or tomorrow, and they'll come back good enough to eat. Because you've got to remember, these haven't got any preservatives into them. Now those eggs should be cooked. Let's have a look. Oh, they're just lovely. Just the way I like them. Oh, looking good. Oop. The bacon broke. Oh, that's hot on the fingers too. Now, just butter a couple of buns and I've got my brekkie. Lovely. Oh, that's looking good. I might have this one here. It looks a bit brown. Now wipe the plate a bit. That's what all them good chefs do, don't they? You're out in the bush, Tommo. Now isn't that a beautiful brekkie though? And look, just dip that in the googie. Beautiful, dip it in the googie. Now this hunter and gathering is hard work. I can see the fish out there, but they won't get on my line. But you never know. I've always got the crab pots and I'm hoping for dinner. Back to this hard work. Now I'm just going to whip up a quick lunch. I'm going to use those beautiful mini dampers I had this morning. I'm just going to cut it in half like that, and I'm going to toast it on an open fire. And now that fork is too small. I would end up burning all my hands on the open fire. Now I've made up an old bush fork. It's just a twig with a bit of a V in it. All we got to do is stick it in the bun and take it to the fire. By having a bit of extra length, it's not burning my hands, so it makes it much more comfortable. And it'll only take a minute to toast that, and it'll bring them back as fresh as they were this morning. Just how I want them. Aren't they fantastic? Take it to the table. Get them over here. Look at that, aren't they looking good? A bit of slippery stuff. Now, corned beef. Just a bit of corned beef on that. Oh, doesn't that look good? And we put that over there. Now, where would you get a better lunch than that? Whoop, bit falling off. Got to eat that. Looks pretty good to me. Now we've been fishing the run-in tide with this crab pot, and I've been lucky enough to catch one of these. Now he's a fairly big crab, and he's a male. Crabs have got 2 claws on them. Now this one is a crunching claw. Whoops, he'll get you, and they would take your finger off, I can tell you. But you can see the great big teeth in there. They're crunching claw. This one, if I get around this way where he can't get me, is what they call a cutting claw. See how they've got little teeth on there? Now these crabs are crustaceans, and that means they wear their skeleton on the outside. Now if they want to grow, what they do is they split at the back here and just walk out of their shell. Why that's happening, that's the time the crabs are most vulnerable, because along come another crab and can grab him, because all his shell is soft and they've got no way of protecting themselves. And they are cannibals, they eat each other. But this one's not going to eat another crab, because I'm going to eat him. Now some people put them in the fridge to kill them. Hey, that's a terrible way to die. Some people drop them in boiling water. That's not a very good way either, because they'll throw the claws. I personally like to just lift the little tail, one jab with the knife, and it's all over. Very humane. Now once you've killed your crab, you've just got to break the top shell off. Now you might find that hard to get off, so what you do is just get your little knife in there, just cut it around, like that. A couple of muscles in there, and it should just come straight off now. Still pretty tight. That's him. Oop, that's it. Now these are what they call the fingers. You don't want them. Take them off. And get them right away. They're no good at all. Now I like to break the crab in half now. And that I just get him down there like that, break him in half, and then run the knife down. Now, some people call this mayonnaise, but it's not. It's the crab's stomach, and I don't like eating it. Now we just put a bucket of water there, in it goes, get a knife and just brush it away like that. It doesn't take no time at all to clean it. Now, certain times of the year, crabs have got no meat in them, so it's no good killing them, and you can always tell it when you pick them up. Oops, get that little bit out there, and then you can see that that's full of meat, so that's a good crab. Don't kill them if they've got no meat in them. Now as you can see there, those claws are very, very hard, and this is very soft, so if I was to put those both in together, this will cook quick and these will be raw. So what I'm going to do, get my little chopper, and I'm just going to chop him off there like that. Now we don't want to waste any of this little crab, because they are very tasty. Now we're going to crack that so we can eat it. Just like that. Oh, isn't that going to be good? Right, cut his toenails off. We don't want them. Let's dump them more back to the fish. Put them there. Now the other side of the crab, just repeat the procedure. What I've done here with the body, I've just cut it up into bite-sized pieces. And the same on this side. That'll do. Righto. Now we were pretty lucky today because we caught a crab. Now we are actually what you call reality television. When we come to the bush, we hope to catch things. There are no setups. If we don't catch anything, we have to resort back to the good old tin tucker. If things go a bit bad and you don't catch anything, just get into the tucker box, you find one of these, and you won't have to go to bed with your belly empty. But that's not going to happen tonight because we've got a good crab. Let's go and cook it. We're just going to rake out a few coals. I don't want it too hot, otherwise it'll burn it. Set our little camp oven on. I'm only using the small one now. Bring that off. Oh, looking good. Right. A bit of sesame seed oil. Good dash. Sprinkle it in there. And a bit of garlic. Oh. Now that's getting hot. Now the crab, I'm just going to put the claws in first. Stir them around. Now that camp oven is hot, I can tell you. Now they've been cooking for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to give them a stir, and now they're nearly right what I want. See how they're going red? Right, we might put the rest of the crab in. In she goes. Stir that around so it gets a bit of garlic and sesame seed on too. Oh yeah. Lid, do I get everything else ready? Now, when you're cooking like this in the bush, you've got to be comfortable. So I've brought my chair over. I'm going to sit down. Have a look at that now. Oh, it's looking good. Now there's a couple of more ingredients. One is 2 fruits. And it has a little ring pull on it, so it's easy to work with in the bush. And a little bit of coconut cream. Ah, beautiful. Every spoon. One more little ingredient I always use when I'm cooking seafood, a pinch of sugar. Look at that. It just takes the tartiness away from it. You'll be surprised at the difference it makes. Now that's looking pretty good. All I'm going to do now is sit the lid on. I would say around about 5 or 6 minutes that'll be cooked. Now that should be just about ready. Oh, looking good. Look at that. Whew. Now in my cookbook, sometimes I put a little bit of corn flour in, but this one won't need it because the cream has reduced. Now we just need a plate. I think, look at that. Oh, doesn't that look yummy? I bagged one of them claws. What about that? Tommo's tropical crab. Now my grandpappy said you can't go to bed unless you have a sweetie. Now today I'm going to show you the easiest sweet that I know how to make. And it's called damper on a stick. Bit of flour and a little bit of water. Just mix it around. Now damper on a stick really originated back in the 18th century, before motor cars or push bikes or anything like that was invented. If you wanted to go anywhere, you either travelled by coach, which cost you money, or you had a horse. You had to have money to buy a horse. There was only other way to travel. And that was what they call Shanks's pony. That's your feet. So if you wanted a job up at Toowoomba and you had no money, you had to walk. And it always took you a little time to get there, a week or so. So you had to carry a food that wouldn't perish. And what was it? Flour. Pulled up at a creek. They didn't have bottled water, just dipped a bit of water out the creek and mixed up a bit of flour and water. One stick which they would pull off a tree, flour and water mixed up into a nice dough, and we're just going to do that around there like that. Now this gets a bit sticky, but doesn't matter. Now this is great for the kids, because the simple reason, when you're out in the bush, they've got to do it themselves. And if they don't do it properly, they burn it. Just get them to do it again. What's it cost? A little bit of flour and water. Now mine's looking pretty good. Don't put it on too thick, because the thicker you put it on, hey, longer it's going to take to cook. And it could be raw in the middle. Right, I'm going to rake some coals out. Right, just push that bit of flame away. Yes, that's it. But you don't want too much flame, otherwise it'll burn it. And just keep it down close to the coals. Now that should double in size in no time at all. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Now be careful, because these can be very hot when you take them out of the fire. Let them cool down a bit, especially if the children are handling them. Now pull the stick out, and there's not too much, that's cooked pretty good. Have a look at that, there's no dough sticking to the stick. Now the old fellas used to put golden syrup in them. I've got a little bit better in this. Look, I'm going to put some strawberry jam in mine. Ha! Look at that, isn't that looking good? Oh, give it a bit of a poke so it gets right down the middle. One more thing. There it is. Look at it. Cream in a tin. Woo! Whoop. Not too much, Tommo. Oh yeah, we'll make this one really nice. Look at that. One big strawberry on top. And look at that. Now everything we've cooked today out in the bush, you can cook at home in your kitchen. Just give it a whip around, onto a tray and into the oven. And they'll take about 10 minutes longer than in the camp oven. Now they're just about cooked. Give them a quick poke. Whoa, yeah, it's lovely. And bring them out. Look at those. Right, that's all you've got to do. Now damper on a stick is a little bit more difficult to do at home, but I've come up with an idea. I've got a flat dish and I've got a couple of screws through it. There's about 8 screws through it. I drilled a hole in a little bit of dowel, and now all I do is just wrap my dough around the dowel. Just like that. That's how simple it is. Paint it with a bit of milk and sit it on the screw. If I can get it on there. There you are. How about that? Now, don't they look funny? Into the oven with them. We'll have sweeties. You be careful, Tommo. Whoop. Beautiful. Now to cook the crab, all you need is a great big pot, set her on the stove and away you go. Tropical crab makes a lovely dish for a dinner party. How about these? There's a first for everything. Whoops. Look at those. Whoop. Look at them. Don't they look like little toadstools? Take it off the spring, give it a twist, pull it out. A little bit of jam. I'm using marmalade today. Just a bit down the middle. Bit of cream. Ah, looking good. And a strawberry on top. And what about that, eh? Practice at home before you go away camping. Now join us on our next trip and we're going to show you how to catch a slimy eel. And we might even have a go at the old favourite, the blackfish. Until we meet again around the campfire, see ya.